Hi everybody, welcome to WP Fix Center. This is another video about security today. I'm going to go through and install Defender. I installed Defender on a different site in a different video, but I'm going to go through the full process of diagnosing the 12 notifications that I get. I went and did clicked on plugins and add new. You can see that over here on the left. I searched for Defender, which is a great plugin by WPMU Dev. And a lot of their plugins pop up on this page. Definitely a good company to look at. They are a subscription model. You can use Defender for free, but a lot of their better plugins are paid plugins. It's worth a look at. It's a good group. So let's go ahead and click on Install Now. Like I said, I did this in a different video on a different site, but I thought I'd just show this step. This installed thing turns into Activate, and we activate it. Now I did have it installed on this site before, so maybe it's going to remember my settings. Let's find out. Okay, it's activated. If we go down here to Defender and click on Settings, you notice down here there's 12 notifications for Defender. You see two-factor authentication is turned on. This requires me to use the Google Authenticator app on my phone to enter a 6-digit code. Let's take a look at some of these notifications here under Security Tweaks. Disable trackbacks and pingbacks is the first one. And it basically says it's a way to protect you against people trying to hack your comments. There it is, right there. Pingbacks notify a website when it's been mentioned by another website, which is a form of courtesy communication. However, these notifications can be sent to any website willing to receive them, opening you up to DDoS attacks, which can take your website down in seconds and fill your post with spam comments, and we don't want that. So the way Defender works is it gives you some information about the security hole. It says what your current status is, and then it gives me a way to disable pingback. So I'm going to do that. Now, if pingbacks are important for your approach to how you develop your site, then don't do that. Disable the file editor. This is a good one to turn on, or to turn off file editing. It basically says WordPress comes with a file editor built into the system. So if somebody were able to hack into your site, which they have less chances of doing if you turn on the URL login masking and you turn on two-factor authentication, but regardless, if somebody happens to hack into your site, they can mess with your theme. WordPress allows, I forget exactly where they put it. WordPress allows you to edit the theme directly through the WordPress dashboard, so this turns that off. You'll still be able to modify your theme if you need to. You just need to do it through your file manager on your web hosting. So let's go ahead and disable that file editor. What's the next one? XMLRPC, remote procedure calls. This allows you to post on your blog using other clients. If you're not posting on your blog using any kind of remote access methods, you want to disable this. It says technically it's a remote procedure call, which uses XML to encode its calls and HTTP as a transport mechanism. Well, that's plain English. It makes perfect sense, right? Regardless of whether you understand that or not, you want to turn this off if you don't need it. So I'm going to disable that. Login duration, I am not going to mess with that. My current login duration is the default 14 days. I suppose it's a little bit of a security hole, but I like being able to just go to my dashboard and not have to log back in. So I'm going to leave that alone. If you want to limit that, you can always change the login duration here. Well, you know what? I'm going to change it. Let me make it 3 days and then update that. Prevent user enumeration. One of the more common methods for bots and hackers to gain access to your site is to find out login usernames and brute force the login area. Now, I'm actually running a plugin already called WP Data Remover, something along those lines. Let me just see what this says here. I actually haven't turned this one on before. Oh, okay, so this prevents you from being able to go put in your website, your domain name, and then if you look here, putting in the question mark author1, author equals 2, and then that'll redirect to the page with the username, and that'll give attackers your usernames. So we don't want to have that turned on. So let's go ahead and prevent that. What's next here? Prevent PHP execution. Well, you wouldn't want to prevent this generally speaking, since WordPress is currently based on PHP, although there's all this talk about JavaScript. But let's read what it says here. By default, a plugin theme vulnerability could allow a PHP file to get uploaded into your site's directories and in turn execute harmful scripts that can wreak havoc on your website. Dun dun dun. Prevent this altogether by disabling direct PHP execution in directories that don't require it. So it says that it's currently allowed in all directories. So they have setups here for different types of web servers. You'll need to know, if you were going to turn this on, you'll need to know whether you're running on Apache or Nginx or IIS 7 or Lightspeed, which I have to admit I've never heard of. They can make changes to the htaccess file to fix this. Let's go ahead and do that. It's a test site. One thing that's worth mentioning at this point is you want to make the backup of your site before you make these changes. Make sure you use something like Updraft Plus, and then you want to have two defenses, defense in depth, right? So your first defense is using a plugin like Updraft Plus to make backups of your site, and knowing how to restore from those backups is very important. The second line of defense is knowing that you have a web host that makes reliable backups. I've had occasions where something goes wrong with the website and I need to restore the entire public HTML space from a web hosting backup. And my web host is Bluehost, and it works very well there. XContent type option security header. The XContent, some of this stuff, it's probably, if you don't understand what it means, it's probably a good idea to turn it on. XContent type options header is used to protect against MIME sniffing attacks. The most common example is when a website allows users to upload content to a website. However, the user disguises a particular file type as something else. So this is basically preventing cross-site scripting. If you don't know what that is, go do a Google search on XSS or cross-site scripting. This is something that you definitely, it says we highly recommend that you enforce the no sniff content options header. So let's go ahead and enforce this. Okay, we're down to 5 things left here. Feature policy security header. Feature policy response header provides control over what browser features can be used when web pages are embedded in iframes. So this is talking about, I believe this is talking about when other sites try to embed your content in an iframe. And we're going to allow on-site and iframe. We're going to take the default here. This page can only be displayed in a frame on the same origin as the page itself. So this will prevent other sites from embedding your content. If you have a reason why you want other sites to embed your content, then don't enforce this. But in my case, I'm going to enforce this. Refer, okay, here's more cross-site scripting stuff, I believe. Refer policy header. HTTP header tells browsers how to handle refer information that is sent to websites. Oh, this is a little different. Okay. Refer headers tell website owners inbound visitors came from. Okay, refer headers tell website owners inbound visitors came from. That seems like that's missing a word like where. But there are cases where you may want to control or restrict the amount of information present in this header. We recommend you choose a policy from the options below. I'm going to go with this origin one, cross origin. I think that one makes the most sense. So let's go ahead and enforce that. Strict transport security header, HTTP strict transport security response header, lets a website tell browsers it should only be accessed using HTTPS. Now, your WordPress settings should already be forcing users to HTTPS. If you're not running a secure website, in other words, if people can access your site with HTTP, that's not a good idea, especially if you're having customers or clients or browsers enter any kind of secure information. This would be especially true if you have some kind of a authentication system on your website where people come and log in. So do all your users a favor, make sure that you have an HTTPS website, make sure that it's secured. It's SSL or TLS, depending on how your web host handles it. It should be TLS these days. And you would need to talk to your web host about getting that secured, getting the security certificate. Yeah, about getting the security certificate set up. It says, this is kind of reiterating what I said, this is extremely important for websites that store and process sensitive information. Now in my database, in my options table, I already have my site and site URL. I forget the exact names of those fields, but I think it's site and site URL. Those are already set to HTTPS. That's how you force people to go and use HTTPS. But we're gonna do it here too. So choose the requirements below to generate a strict transport security header for your site. Don't set the preload option here unless you know what you're doing, okay? We'll let the browser cache for 7 days like they're suggesting here. What are the options here? Months, 7 days. I think 7 days is good. And then enforce that. Okay, we're down to 2 left here. And once you get all these done, you can feel a little more confident in the security, well, a lot more confident in the security of your WordPress site. XFrame Options, HTTP response header, controls whether a browser can render a web page inside a frame, iframe, or object tag. Websites can avoid clickjacking attacks by ensuring that their content isn't embedded into other websites. So this is another approach to preventing, and we want to use the same origin policy. It's another approach to preventing other sites from embedding your content. Unless you have a reason to do that, you should lock this down. So we're not going to do allow from, we're going to do same origin. So we could embed content from our site on our own site. Although, you know, I'm not going to do that on this site, so I'm just going to deny. Page cannot be displayed in a frame regardless of the site attempting to do so. Enforce. I'm sure there's some plugin out there that you get in trouble for doing that and have to turn that back off. Cross-site scripting protection security header stops pages from loading when they detect reflected cross-site scripting attacks on Chrome, IE, and Safari. I wonder why not on Firefox. These headers are largely unnecessary in modern browsers when websites have a strong content security policy. So this is when people come along and try to hack your JavaScript on your site. They might submit a form from a different site that posts to your site, and then on the onSubmit they'll have something that calls evil.com/JS script. That's kind of a classic cross-site scripting attack. So this says that this header provides protection for older browsers that don't support CSP, content security policy. So let's go ahead and do that. There's people out there using older browsers. I'm tempted to say block here. It enables XSS filtering. Rather than sanitizing the page, the browser will prevent rendering of the page. I'm going to go with block. Sanitize it's useful in some cases, but the thing about sanitize, it's like taking an SQL injection input. You have to predict every possible combination of weird characters that somebody doing an SQL injection would enter into your page and try to hack your database. Now, this isn't SQL, this is for CS or XSS, but it's the same concept. It's better just to block everything. If this breaks some kind of functionality on your site, you might want to back it off to sanitize, but I can't imagine that this is going to cause a problem. So I'm going to say enforce. Okay, let's see if the site still works. James, Losi, this is totally a test site. This site won't even be up by the time you try to hack into it. And there we are. This is actually the old version of my WP Fix Center site before I moved away from Debian over to Genesis and used their Parallax Pro theme. Okay, well, thanks for following through with this video. Go ahead and take a look at Defender, install it on your site, turn on two-factor authentication, turn on login URL masking, and go through all the steps that they recommend to lock down your site, and you'll have a better WordPress site for the effort. And here's the prologue. I forgot to show you. Notice that all of my Defender notifications are gone. So it says here you've actioned all of the recommended security tweaks. Okay, thanks again for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. If you like the video and you'd like to subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. I need some subscribers. It's a brand new channel, so help me out. Thanks a lot.